the home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads.
Good to be podcasting again. Haven't been podcasting as much, been doing a lot of live streaming, but I've been getting requests from the Common Joes and Sallys in the know to do more podcasts. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to change gears a little bit. We're not going to be talking about the coaching carousel, except for this small little segment, as that's been gobbling up all the headlines. And while everybody's been gleefully and spastically celebrating what they think might be the demise of Alabama and Michigan, two blue bloods, because they lost their coaches, Oklahoma has been quietly sneaking up with yet another top 10 class as people are sort of sleeping on Oklahoma. Oklahoma had one bad year and everybody, it's like they thought the blue blood was dead. But as blue bloods always do, as Oklahoma's done in the past, and Alabama, Michigan, and others, they always re-rise to the top at some point. And Oklahoma is really starting to look good on the recruiting front. But there was a show that a lot of people have been bringing to my attention, and that is Ikard Lehman, who spoke on the Oklahoma NIL. And a lot of Oklahoma fans are concerned by some of the stuff that was said on that show and the fact that maybe Oklahoma's NIL is not where it needs to be, and they may be falling behind. So, let's talk about it. Can't hold back, I can't back down, like an old Survivor song from the 1980s. And here they come. They can't hold back and they can't back down. It's the Outlaw Posse now in effect. And today's Four Horsemen shout-outs go to Big Cajones Kelly, Will Reed, James Stevens, and Trucking with Cliff are mounted up and saddled up and ready to go for today's college football invasion. And if you want your badge to get deputized like them and to get a random Four Horsemen shout-out as well, be the possible comment of the day. It's just $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. It's a little join button next to subscribe button. Also, if you're on an Apple phone, you may have to go to your laptop or computer as they don't mesh with YouTube memberships. You'll get your badge, you'll be deputized, and you'll be in the Outlaw Posse. I can also be reached on Twitter at OCF Productions. Oh, and the big four, they're all free. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like Teddy Lehman and Gabe Ikard got a little show. I have never really watched it much. It was suggested to me by numerous people that watch this channel, so I decided to give it a watch. A lot of people are really up in arms over the whole NIL conversation that they had, so that's the one I got a few notes here, old school style. The first thing they said while I was watching the show that really stuck out to me was they said that the OU fans are pissed, some of them, not all of them, are pissed that Venables' NIL approach is not aggressive enough because they didn't get any of the Alabama players and Washington players and Arizona players that were in the portal. Now it's going to be Michigan players in the portal. Numerous comments were made. Ikard brought him up. I think it was on Twitter. A lot of Oklahoma fans are unhappy, saying they struck out and Oklahoma's not aggressive enough. The administration of Oklahoma is not taking NIL serious enough. But Ikard went on to say that the OU administration is not going to bend or break any rules in order to try to keep up with anybody. But he said it did surprise him that they are actually getting really creative in, he says here, in redirecting money in ways that they never have. So it seems like they are making some efforts to try to be one of the better NIL programs in the nation. Maybe not the best, as Ikard said, but one of the best. The number that they threw out was $9 million. And that sounds like a lot of money, but not divided between 80 players when you're trying to compete against those bigger NIL package deals that certain teams supposedly had. And they threw out some numbers on Tennessee and Ole Miss, for example. Tennessee's got $20 million. Ole Miss got $18 million. So they got Ole Miss doubling Oklahoma. But they made a good point. It's not really sustainable. These teams may be able to do that for the next couple of years, but eventually they're going to run out of money because high school football players are going to continue to come in. It's not like it's going to just stop and they're going to just have the same players for 10 years like the NFL. This ain't the NFL. You have turnover every 3 to 4 years in college football. If a player doesn't stay his full ride of his full years or 5 years, however many years he get, if you have a red shirt, then every 3 years, more than likely, you got good players on your team, you're probably going to have turnover every 3 years. In the NFL, that don't happen. They got players that stay on their teams. Now, they do a lot of free agency and stuff like that, but still, it's nothing like college football where it's constantly every 2 or 3 years. And then with the transfer portal, you got players coming in only staying 1 year, and you blow your wad on them, and then they're gone somewhere else. So like Caleb Downs went to Ohio State, and Alabama blew the wad on Caleb Downs a little bit more than likely. Like, some of these players are also going to get really jealous of each other. Now, I know in the NFL, if a player has more star power, if he's considered a better player at his position, then he's going to get paid more. They use the example of there's going to be dissension in the locker room over this money. Well, in the NFL, there may be dissension in the NFL too, but let's say they used offensive linemen for an example. If your right tackle makes more than your left tackle because the right tackle is considered a better blocker than your left tackle or vice versa, then that's just tough shit in the NFL. And these players are going to have to understand that, but they're not. We all know what's going to happen. There going to be dissension on the team, absolutely 150%, because they're enabled by people calling them kids, first of all, which is a big thing for me. I'm trying to get out of doing it myself. But these players are absolutely going to be hating on each other because they're only 4 years removed from being a senior in high school. So the immaturity level is a big unraveling point for team chemistry with these players and this money. And Ikard Lehman made another good point, and that is that some of these players that Oklahoma fans are getting frustrated with that they couldn't get while Ohio State and other teams like Texas did, some of these players are asking for $1 million. I mean, just astronomically amounts of money. That if you got an NIL collective where you only got $9 million, you're going to run out of money on one player, and then the rest of the players ain't going to get nothing. Just like with Ole Miss, for example. $18 million, yeah, they can give $1 million to one guy, but eventually they're going to run out. And the whole idea behind the transfer portal was to create what? Parity. It's not creating parity. The Blue Bloods have once again found the loopholes and the fact that they have more money than all these teams, and they can get other teams' players that they can't afford to keep to get in the transfer portal, and they pay them. But even though some of these Blue Bloods are going to run out of money, and it's just going to be a big cluster. And the frustrating thing for fans like you and I is the NCAA could step in and do something and stop being scared and develop a spine and not worry about these supposed lawsuits. Because what they need to do is just go ahead and have pay for play and have contracts and bouts in place. As I said in earlier podcasts and live streams, these players and these corrupt relatives want to be able to just move around freely. You can't even do that in the NFL. You can't just jump from one team to another every year. Not usually. And they just don't want to have any rules in place. And they bitch about the coaches leaving. Well, the coaches can leave. Why can't the players? Yeah, the coaches can leave, but they pay penalties and they pay buyouts. It's just not sustainable. And I just don't like the direction that college football is going in. And I just, the NCAA's got to do something, or a segment of college football is going to get together and form their own governing body, because then you have players like Caden Proctor, for example, who's from Iowa, who was tampered with. He even come out and said it in the interview the other day that Iowa contacted him while he was still playing at Alabama in the middle of the season. That's tamper. Of course, they'll push it under the rug like they always do with Big Ten schools. You never hear them really punishing Big Ten schools. Just like the whole Michigan cheating situation, I guarantee you they ain't going to do crap about that. But now let's talk about something a little more upbeat, and that is the recruiting prowess of Oklahoma continues to percolate upwards as they continue to just sneak up on people. People thought they were gone, went 6-7. It was just one bad year. And then this past year, they're back to double-digit wins. I think, what y'all finished, 10-3 or 11-2 or something like that, 10-3. So Oklahoma is definitely on the verge of being completely back as far as a national title contender, especially with the recruiting prowess of Brent Venables. I like to hammer this all the time because I just thought it was so asinine for Colin Coward to even say Oklahoma can't just recruit the state of Oklahoma anymore. They never have, Colin. Oklahoma's always recruited Texas and California and even Florida and states like that. But with Brent Venables, what people don't realize is he was at Clemson for about 8 or 9 years, and he developed some strong ties on the East Coast in very fertile areas like Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. And he was already, he already started out in Oklahoma in the Midwest, so he already had Texas connections when he went to Clemson. Not to mention California connections as well from his time at Oklahoma. So that narrative that you tried to push, the shit you threw against the wall, it's just not sticking, Colin. You're looking more and more like a complete ass clown each and every day that passes with Brent Venables being at the helm of Oklahoma. And here's some examples. 2026 recruit Justice Kirkpatrick was offered by Oklahoma. This is the brother of Minka Fitzpatrick. So Justice is a legacy player somewhat that Alabama probably has the inside track on just because his brother played there. But Brent Venables shows no fear. He goes right after him, and he offers him. Also, Jared Curtis was offered from the 2026 class. Jared Curtis is the #1 quarterback overall in the nation in the class of 2026, and Brent Venables steps up to the plate and offers him as well. He's from Nashville, Tennessee, 6'4", 225 pounds, just as a junior. So he's still got some growing to do. He also offered 2026 defensive tackle Taj Overton from Owasso, Oklahoma. Hopefully I pronounced that town right. 6'3", 275-pound defensive tackle was offered by Oklahoma State and Arkansas already. On track to be a four-star hire. So as you can see, the stuff that I was talking about earlier, it sort of plays itself out in this recruiting. Kirkpatrick's in Florida. Jared Curtis is in Tennessee, and Taj Overton's in the state of Oklahoma. So it's broad-based and throughout the nation. Colin, yes, of course, they're going to still recruit Oklahoma because that's their state. But look at all these players that he's offering from across the nation. He's casting a wide net. That's another little catchphrase people like to use. Also, they've offered 4-star running back Caden Knighton. He's set to visit Oklahoma. He just decommitted from Vanderbilt. Trent Wilson, one of the top defensive linemen, has narrowed it down to Oklahoma and 7 other teams. So Oklahoma's made – this guy has come out and verbally said that Oklahoma is in his top 8 already. He is class of 2025, one of the top defensive linemen. Also, there's 2 Washington players. I don't really have their names available, but I hear 2 Washington players are also looking at Oklahoma as far as the transfer portal. So they're actually trying to get some of those players in the transfer portal. We just have to be a little more patient with Brent Venables and the Oklahoma administration in their efforts to make the NILs of Oklahoma competitive with other NILs. But I just hate it's come to this because I just know that the NCAA is probably not going to do nothing. And until there's some better rules set in place, I think that they just need to set down the top 40 or 50 programs and come to an agreement that certain things are going to be done a certain way. That way you don't have tampering going on like with Iowa and what Linky Boy did in gutting Oklahoma's program and that kind of deal. And if lawsuits come, they come. Just address them from that point. Get all these high school seniors to sign a disclaimer or some kind of contract before they come in to college sports. Make them agree to certain things before they try to come out here and go to the university and use them as a platform to push their NIL and stuff to make it famous. So that's what people don't understand is these universities, without these universities giving them the platform, they'll say, well, they're already famous because they're a 5-star in high school. Yeah, but they still have to prove that shit on the field. And the only way to prove it on the field is what? That these universities allow them that platform. So I know right now it just seems hopeless and wild, wild west, but someone's got to step up to the plate and do something. They're going to have to all get together, like I said, and sit down and form a new coalition and just do away with the NCAA. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. As I said before, that's the big four, and they're all free. And as I said earlier, you can also join the Outlaw Posse to get some extra perks and bonuses. You can get your badge, you get deputized, be an Outlaw Posse, get a random 4 Horseman shout out, as well as possibly be the comment of the day. It's not $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. Also, I got a store now. Me and Jonathan Lewis built a store for the channel. You go with the browse store option. We got some Don't Be a Skittle Shooter t-shirts, as well as some Outlaw of College Football logo shirts, as well as I think it's Born Bleeding Crimson or some kind of deal. But some good shirts and whatnot. We're going to go in there and try to change some of the prices to make them more affordable as well. With that, I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams, classes now officially dismissed.